love of the game. This is Love Set Match.
I mean, Andre Agassi had this quote, you don't have to be better than everyone else in the draw when you go out on the court. Like, you have to be better than someone that's across the net.
I think you got to stay active in a sport sense, go out there, do some sports. I think it always makes you feel better, maybe you're more tired in the very moment, but actually the rest of the day feels better. And then I think giving back as well, making other people happy is going to give you a good feeling too.
Welcome to Tennis Pal Chronicles, the podcast to feed your passion for all things tennis. This podcast is sponsored by Tennis Pal. Tennis Pal for iPhone and Android is an app for anything tennis. It connects you with other players and coaches to chat, schedule playtime, and share moments with. Download the app today at tennispal.com. Hi, everybody. I'm Philip Kim, also known as the tennis pro for the historic Langham Huntington Hotel in sunny Southern California. And it's a joy to have my co-host back in the hot seat again. Welcome back, Valerie Garcia.
Oh, it's hot.
Yeah, and it really is hot in our seats these days, isn't it? I mean, how are you handling the heat?
Stay indoors.
Lots of air conditioning, right?
Yes.
Have you been hit at all by the rolling electricity blackouts that we've been having?
No, thankfully. So
yes.
Nice. You? What about you?
We haven't been hit, but I've seen it on nextdoor.com in our neighborhood. People are saying, oh, we just had a blackout, that kind of thing. For those of you that don't know, here in Southern California, we have had record 100-degree weather in the last couple of days and almost 2 weeks now. High degree weather, which is about 38 degrees Celsius, I think, for our international listeners. So very hot. And unfortunately, we're in the wildfire season again. And it just feels like we have wildfires every year now. That just doesn't seem right,
Yeah. I have friends in the Valley in Southern California where it's on fire. And there was a lot local to you and I in Azusa. And some in Riverside, I believe, and then Northern Cal, where my sister lives, they're just on fire everywhere up there.
Yeah, that fire looks really bad. That's about 6 to 8 hours away from us where we are. But the fires that Valerie just talked about in Azusa, that's actually where my tennis program is. It's on hold right now, obviously, because of COVID. But yes, we would definitely have seen ash coming in over the courts from those fires because that's really in our backyard.
Yeah.
So best wishes to everybody who's struggling through all of that in Southern California and dealing with all the heat, which means a lot less tennis on the tennis courts. I think a lot of people have been taking a break. So I've seen an attendance drop in the local courts, at least, just as far as people showing up in the heat. It's just too much, right?
Yeah, for most people. I know you and I are sun lovers, so we tend to go out there and brave the heat.
Yep.
But
we're lizards.
It's nice for people like us who have open courts in the middle of the day.
Exactly. We really enjoy the heat. And so I actually don't mind playing at like 12-1, 2 when it's completely empty. So that's great. Or I'll bring out the ball machine and, work on the old backhand.
Did you get a ball machine, Philip?
I've had one for about 2 years. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, but it's a cheapy small one that I really enjoy and it works fine. I actually converted it from battery to AC. So because the courts where I hit, they actually have electricity from the public park. So I can actually plug it in because before if I had a battery, it would only last 20, 30 minutes and then it would die. You know how those batteries always die out. So it's nice to have a plug-in for that.
Yeah, that's cool. What brand is yours? Do you know?
No.
Is it that little box, the little black box you set down on the floor?
I'll have to show it to you next time I see it. I'll put a picture up on our... Oh, actually, I think there's a picture on my website, LoveSetMatch.net. If you go to the tennis lessons page, you'll see the picture of a ball machine there too.
Cool. I know they were promoting one on the Racquet podcast that supposedly is like awesome, and I was like, man, if only I already have one.
Yeah.
But it's old, and like you said, my battery is like, I don't think it's like 12 or 13 years old.
Right.
So the battery, I have to fully charge for 8 hours just to get like 45 minutes.
Exactly.
To an hour.
Exactly.
I mean, it usually, I can't last that long anyway against a ball machine.
Right.
It's pretty brutal. But yeah, I mean, it would be nice to have a new one, I think. A nice, fresh one. That's cool. I'm glad you have one.
Yeah, and I think really important in the COVID era, where you have to be socially distanced. So sometimes, you just can't play enough tennis. So you got to pull out the ball machine, which I have done quite often in this time.
Awesome. Well, that's good. Your game won't suffer.
Yeah, it's definitely suffered, but
it won't suffer. It won't suffer as much.
I think it suffer more in the fitness side. I was really hoping that I would be a lot more fit through all this downtime. I would spend all my time exercising and building that six pack, and of course, ultimate fail on all that stuff.
But I know you've got a lot done around your house, and you painted your house, and I'm sure you're doing. You cleaned all your tools in your garage. So at least you're being productive.
Home Depot has all my money.
There we go. Well, all the kittens of Southern California have all my money.
I cannot believe the cutest pictures you're posting. I love that one of all the kittens with Star Wars names. That was hilarious.
Oh, yes. That's I have 10 right now.
10 kittens. Oh, my gosh.
It's fun.
We're just going to have to call you Valerie Kitty.
That works. I'm the crazy cat lady now.
So fun. Well, I don't know how to transition into our giveaway from kittens. But we are doing a giveaway. It's called Federer-esque, not Kitty-esque. How's that? Federer-esque
awesome.
is, the first elegant coffee table book. It's so beautiful. And we started the giveaway on last podcast, and we're going to end it in this next month. So please make sure that you enter. To enter, all you have to do is subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is at LoveSetMatch Tennis on YouTube. And then just send me an email that letting me know your YouTube profile. Even if you've already subscribed to our YouTube channel in the past, that's fine. Just send me an email. We'll enter you to the drawing. I've gotten quite a few entries, Valerie, so I'm very excited to choose someone to win this beautiful, beautiful book. And thank you so much to the wonderful people behind Federer-esque who created this book and are doing this giveaway with us. They're going to mail it directly to the winner.
Sweet.
And
that's a great book, and whoever wins it's going to be very lucky. They won't be disappointed.
Yeah, it's a treasure to have, so I really enjoy it. And of course, my hope is someday I'll get to see Roger Federer again. I was hoping at Indian Wells I would take the book and get it signed, but hopefully maybe next year. Well, fingers crossed, right?
Yeah, let's hope. Nicholas, our Rafa reporter, was just asking me if he's been getting the emails from Indian Wells saying tickets are available now. Have you been getting those emails?
Yeah, for 2021. Yeah, I saw that.
I know. It's interesting. It's like, well, it's kind of hard to plan. Like, do we buy them and then just get a refund again?
Right.
Or they're gonna have it. Are they gonna have it with no fans?
Right.
It's hard. It's so hard to tell what's gonna happen.
The Indian Wells bubble.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that is a great segue into the U.S. Open, because I cannot believe that the U.S. Open is just 1 week away now, and they're going for it. Last podcast we were saying, shouldn't they be canceling? Wouldn't it be the prudent thing? I mean, at this point, there's no turning back, right? I mean, they are full steam ahead. They're going for it. And in this podcast later, people, please stay tuned for Rich Nehar, who's going to talk about some of his in-depth views on what's happening with the USTA and with the U.S. Open. He's had great discussions with the president of the national president of the USTA. So he has a lot more insight into what's happening there. And his newsletter, something I highly recommend, Tennis Club Business News. So you can check that out. What do you think, Valerie? Give us an update on what you know with players and where we are going into the U.S. Open.
Yes. Well, first of all, I can't wait to hear that interview after we go over this. It's probably going to have so much insight. To have a tennis insider, we're such outsiders. We're such fans, who just study, whatever we could find. We don't have our press passes yet, but one day we will, Philip.
One day.
So the U.S. Open, well, I will just preface to say the U.S. Open, for those who maybe don't know, is going to be held in Flushing, where it normally is, Billie Jean King Center. Currently, they are having the Cincinnati Masters 1000, which is the Western and Southern Financial Open. I'm actually watching it on TV right now. Sloane Stephens.
Wait, how are you watching it? Who's broadcasting it?
Tennis Channel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I just watched John Isner win, and now I'm watching Sloane Stephens. She's down a set, but she looks good. They're on serve in the second.
Oh my gosh, I thought
it's great to see. There's no spectators, so that's kind of weird. And then when they make the announcements, like the chair umpire, it's kind of like, who are they announcing this to? Like, it's definitely, it's strange. But when we were watching all those exhibitions and the camera angles kind of, just were less than par for us.
Yes.
It's at least nice to have all the big money at a tournament to have all the great camera angles we're used to. So you're getting to see tennis the way you really want to.
Right.
Just without the noise of fans.
So it's not like the GoPro stuff that was happening behind the scenes, top 300 people, and then just one little GoPro kind of thing happening.
Exactly. It's great cameras. It's the stuff we're used to. But yeah, so the Western and Southern is happening. They're actually playing at the same place that the U.S. Open will be played, which is the Billie Jean King Center in New York. However, I think they're only playing on like outer courts, like court 10 and court 17 and a few others. I don't actually know, but I'm assuming that they're doing that to give it a different feel, and that when the U.S. Open starts, they'll play on the bigger stadiums, or at least different stadiums,
gotcha.
to make it seem like a different tournament. Even though I know that they try to make all the courts on one location as similar as possible. At their level of professionalism, they can tell the difference between each court. The minor the subtle differences. And the size of the court also, right, makes a big difference. How much room you have to run around. But going on to the U.S. Open, I will try and list out in somewhat of a systematic order to keep it easy. I'll start with the women, ladies first.
So let me ask you a question. So the reason that they're all playing on the USTA campus, is that because they're trying to create the bubble, the tennis bubble, to keep everybody safe?
I believe so. I believe that, they did not want to have everyone going to Cincinnati and then everyone traveling a week later.
Right.
Because the final's going to be this weekend, and then the U.S. Open starts like a day after the final.
Right. And it's so interesting because I think that's really the only way that sports is moving forward right now. I heard this wonderful podcast from the New York Times about the NBA and the bubble that they had to create. They actually chose Walt Disney World, created a bubble, and it's like $2 million to test every player. They're actually getting tested daily on the NBA side. They had to test and then wait 48 hours and then test again just to be let into the bubble. And then all of these players are being tested every day. So, millions of dollars being spent to create this bubble so that people could go and play basketball safely. Because, how do you play basketball? You're like in each other's face, you're sweating, it's just crazy.
It's a
right?
super close contact.
All kinds of fluids going everywhere,
Yes.
That's just crazy. And so at least tennis is outdoors. It's pretty distance. It's easy to keep your distance. Does the USTA have $2 million to spend on just creating that bubble and keeping everybody safe? And then will the tennis players, adhere to all of the regulations, right? That's the big question.
Yeah, right.
I did hear on the other podcast that so far leading up to the Western Open that there was one coach trainer who tested positive with COVID. And so it's one of the trainers for one of the doubles teams. And so because of that doubles team obviously is out of the Cincinnati and has to wait now to see if they will get back in to the U.S. Open. So that's huge, right? Once you test positive, you're out. That's the end of your play. There's no coming back because you'll have to wait at least 12 days, which is the whole tournament, right?
Yeah. And I think there was two more from South America, two more players that are not going to be allowed to play because their trainers tested positive.
Oh, wow.
And there's just like not enough time to quarantine and test and be on the draw.
Right. Wow.
I don't remember their names. They were like lower ranked players, but yeah,
Right.
it's unfortunate. And I just read today that Kei Nishikori tested positive for a second time.
For a second time, I saw that. Yeah.
So I think it's questionable whether or not he will test positive in time to play.
Right.
But it's kind of, I think at this point, it's more likely than not that he won't play.
Right, because, I mean, is he in New York already?
That I do not know.
Because if he's not in New York, there's no way he's going to make it. How will he travel tested positive? There's no way.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And then once he gets into New York, he'll have to quarantine for 12 days. So unless he's here already, it's too late. There's no way.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. So shall I enlighten with my list?
Please, yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I
no,
was just
you're
thinking
fine.
out loud about how hard this situation is, you know, and how strange it is that these sports entities like basketball or tennis, these people are going to be tested every day, right, to make sure that everybody's safe. And not only all the players, but all the staff, all the servers, everybody who is involved in this, trainers, physios. And, you know, a lot of places in the U.S., we can't even get a test. So it's a little weird, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, please update us. Tell us what's going on.
Awesome. So I'm going to start with the women, and I'll let you know some big names that are in. We got Miss Serena Williams. That's a big deal, I think, right? Is this a good chance for her to get number 24? Probably a great chance, right? And then is it kind of weird as well because she has those pre-existing health conditions with her pulmonary embolism and such that, you know, were life-threatening when she was giving birth. So it's just kind of interesting that she chose to play. I guess she must really believe that they've made the tournament safe. We have Coco Gauff. She'll be playing. Sloane Stephens, Sophia Kenin, and those are some of our big-name Americans. We have Joanna Konta, and your girl Pliskova is playing, and Osaka.
From the Czech Republic.
Yes, and Osaka will be playing as well. So those are some of the big names that we can count on seeing. And then there's a lot of people who are in. I'm not going to obviously read the entire draw. And there's a lot of people who are out. But I'm trying to just name, you know, like the bigger names people are going to recognize. And also probably more so leaning towards having some sort of, like, being the favorites in the draw.
Right.
Although it's very hard to say there's any favorites given the training conditions that everyone is going through, right? It's like never before seen training conditions, and there's a lot of actually articles I found when looking for this information that was on players, you know, either complaining or just sharing their feelings about how the training is not kind of like fair, quote unquote. You know, some people who don't have a lot of money or access to courts went months without being able to play tennis.
Right.
So anywho, we'll see what that holds in terms of if favorites hold up or not. But so who's out? My girl Petkovic, she's out. Not that she's relevant, but I love me some Petkovic.
Oh, she's so great.
Because she's so silly. She's great. And she's such a character, right?
And artistic.
In our sport. Yeah.
Love her.
And then some big names and former Grand Slam champions. Halep. Halep is out.
That's big.
Yeah, that is big. Not as surprising since she didn't play in South America when the Zika thing was going on. So I wasn't surprised that she chose to skip this. Belinda Bencic is out. Defending champion Andreescu is out, but she actually has an asterisk. She's out just because she's injured. She may have chose not to play anyway, but regardless, we won't know because I think, is it her hip or her ankle? Do you know what she hurt? I can't remember.
I don't. Not right off the top of my head.
Yeah, she's hurt again. That's the point, and which is unfortunate because she was a rising star and having such a great start to the year.
Super talented. Wow. Ball
Yeah.
skills. Her high forehand drop shot. Crazy.
Oh, yeah. Ugh, I love watching her play. I'm so sad that she's hurt.
Yeah.
Former U.S. Open champion Svetlana Kuznetsova is out. Svitolina is out, along with her boyfriend, Monfils, which we'll get to when we get to the men. Kiki Bertens. The women's world number 1, Ash Barty, is out. Pavlyuchenkova, Julia Gorgas, Sam Stosur, my girl, and Wang Chung is out.
Chinese number 1. She's one of my favorites.
Yeah, so she's not playing either. So that's my list of women who are out. And
which just reminds me to say that basically all of the China Swing is done. It's canceled. Like,
Yeah.
none of the Asian countries are hosting tennis, and their rates are incredibly low. Like, they're closing everything down when they have like a new outbreak of 10, COVID tests, and here we are in the thousands in the U.S. and we're still holding a tournament. We're awesome.
yeah. Some may say arrogant, but we'll see. So
Yeah.
with the men, who do we have in? Who are we going to watch and be excited about? Djokovic. Djokovic will be in, and I think he had a surprising early exit last year, so I'm sure he'll be excited to do better. And he is probably really excited. I'm pretty sure he's been vocal about not wanting to miss any chance to catch Nadal and Federer. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's just hungry to get a Grand Slam, asterisk or no asterisk. Murray actually, I think he got a wild card because somebody else withdrew. Zverev.
I feel like there's a little buzz around Murray right now. Like, there's actually people talking about him and saying, this could be something for him because he's returning to tennis in a big way where he maybe wasn't ready, and now he's coming back. But at the same time, everyone's returning to tennis, and maybe everybody's not ready. So it almost is like an even playing field. And of course, he's an incredible player in his game style and his court knowledge, So it's interesting to see what his game can do against everyone else and how ready everybody else will be, right?
Yeah, I mean, I hope that would be really awesome because he's won the U.S. Open a couple times, right? A few times, maybe 3 times.
Such a great player, yeah.
Yeah, so excited about that. We have Sasha Zverev, Dominic Thiem, the man who never says no to a tournament, and Daniil Medvedev, last year's finalist who took Nadal to 5 amazing sets. He'll be back. Cilic, former champion, Tsitsipas, and rising star Berrettini. They'll all be playing, so those are some players that I'm sure we'll all have our eyes on, hoping that they can make it, to the 4th round, or so we can start seeing these classic matchups.
Yeah.
And then who's out? Well, obviously, Nadal and Federer. Very sad to see them out. Nadal.
I mean, Nadal, the champion.
Yeah, he's not He's choosing not to defend his title.
So that's so crazy, right? Both men and women's champion. That's got to be a first that they're both not returning.
Yeah.
How strange is that? 2020. Come on.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to maybe the reasons why when we talk about the rankings a little bit.
Okay.
But there's been speculation that had the rankings not been frozen, Nadal would have tried to play the U.S. Open. But he has cited that he chose it for health reasons. And so, good for him. Kudos to him. Federer's going to be gone, but he is recovering from his surgery and re-aggravating the injury during rehabilitation. So he was going to be out anyway. And once again, there's talk around Federer, too, as just being the guy who's lucky. Like, he also is benefiting a lot from the frozen ranking points because
Right.
he's not going to play for 8-9 months at all, and he's going to have his ranking frozen.
Right.
So that's, nice for him.
He's a good planner.
Yeah, right. He knows when to get injured. We got Kyrgios, who's out. We have Tsonga, who's out. We have Stan Wawrinka, former U.S. Open champion, who's out, which made me really sad when I saw that. And then, as I previously mentioned, Monfils is out, and Nishikori most likely out. And then Luca Pui is also out, but I believe that is due to an injury and not a chosen coronavirus skip. So that's our list of who's in, who's out. Again, I just, I apologize if I left your favorite player out. They probably weren't in the top 50.
That's a great list. That's a lot of great information. And of course, everything can change every day as we head on up to the US Open. But yeah, that's really great to know who's in and who's out right now.
Yes. And then, so I was speaking a bit about the rankings, which I just had to look it up because, as I said, Nicholas had told me, what about the rankings? I was like, wow, what a great point. So I quickly, before we got on this call, looked up what is happening with the rankings, because I did see an article about them saying that, Nadal was point calculating when deciding where to play. And so basically the way the rankings normally work is you have a calendar year. You have a 12-month period, all your points for that year from each tournament, sit there. And the next year, if you do better, you get an increase in points. If you do worse, then your points fall off. So you can move up and down the rankings. But what has changed is they're going to have a 22-month period. It's from March this year to, March last year. Because when we stopped, this year was in March. So they froze all of last year's, and it's going to December this year. So it's going to be 22 months instead of 12 months, which is almost doubling the amount of time that they're going to be basically frozen. And so what is going to happen, though, is if the player chooses not to play the tournament, they still get to keep their points from the previous year. If they play, they're going to get to choose. Obviously, they're going to choose the better one, but basically they're going to get to keep their better result. So let's say like for someone who won the tournament last year. Let's just go with Cincinnati, since that's what's happening right now. Someone who won Cincinnati last year, if they play again this year and lose in the first round, they still get to keep their champion points from last year.
Because they have the option to choose that.
Exactly. So within the 22-month time frame, whatever their best result is from the even the same tournament gets to stick. So it's kind of that's very weird, right? Generally, there's a lot of pressure on these players to do well if they've done well at a tournament the year prior. But now they're going to get to play without fear of losing any ranking points. So yeah, so the other thing is that they actually, the way that they comprise the points is they take the best results from 18 tournaments in the last... Mother fudge.
That was awesome.
Sorry.
I got to use that piano note. It was so dramatic.
So the way they do it is they take the best 18 tournament results from the 22-month time frame, and that is your ranking. So
it really is a great incentive for tennis players to play because, they could all choose to sit on the sidelines and lose nothing. But if they do play, they could better their ranking, especially like, for instance, Djokovic. He could easily better his ranking because he got knocked out last year.
Exactly. And, we all assume that he will do quite well, if not win easily. At least that's how I feel. Because he's been training and playing a lot, right? Everyone's missing out on competition, but he's got a good amount of training and competition compared to the rest of the field.
He also has this really strange advantage right now that he tested positive with COVID months ago, and assuming those antibodies are still active in his body, he probably is impervious to COVID during this time frame. I guess that would be the same with Zverev as well, right? So,
you would think, but then Nishikori tested positive again, so there's a chance that doesn't hold up.
What was the time distance between when he had it and when he didn't have it?
I actually don't know any of those details.
Yeah, because I think, here at least in the United States, the CDC is saying approximately 3 months that the antibodies give you protection.
Oh, okay.
And who knows if the information we're hearing from our federal government is correct or not. It's really hard to know. But, just that feeling that maybe he can feel more free, be less stressed, less worried about illness just because he has that kind of advantage.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
possibly.
I don't really see anyone taking him out personally, but stranger things have happened.
I know. I've really been joking on the tennis court with my local buddies, like, why even have the tournament? Just hand Joker the trophy. Just give it to him and save all this, risk of getting infected.
Yeah, right.
But if it's not Djokovic, I mean, you've got to think all these young guns are saying, look, I only have to beat Djokovic now. I don't have to beat 3. And that's why it's always been impossible, right? Like, okay, you can beat Djokovic. Maybe then you could beat Nadal, but then you have to beat Federer or, in any combination of those 3.
Yeah, I mean, at minimum, you had to at least get through 2 of them back to back.
Right.
Which is nearly impossible.
Nearly impossible. And I mean, very few people have done it that I can think of. I mean, Team is right up there, right? He's taken all of them out, I think. Zverev beat Djokovic and
Federer at the finals, right?
At the London, yeah.
But to see that again, that's 3 setters, which I don't think really count. I think in a slam, there's only like 1 or 2 people who have ever done it.
Right. Right, and I think the record, even though everybody says Medvedev has a great chance, I mean he's never actually won a 5-set from, if I understand that correctly, in a 5-set final, I should say.
Oh,
because
gotcha.
he's been in a couple of them and he's lost them all. So, yeah.
Well,
so who has the best chance?
Wait.
Shall we play the game now, men and women? Like, what's your call?
Well, it's really hard, right? Because you don't know. You don't.
Always.
There's no lead-up tournaments other than the Cincinnati, which just started.
Right.
You have a bunch of exhibition tournaments to go off of, which Djokovic and Team and Zverev all did very well in. But they were playing against, a lot lower-ranked players.
Yeah.
In these weird like the UTS, the Ultimate Tennis Showdown, had weird rules, 4 quarters, and all these, antics, right? It wasn't like really tennis. And then the other ones also had different scoring. The 3rd set, I think for some of them was like a tiebreak type of thing,
right?
Instead of a full set. So
right.
I don't know that any of them have had really enough conditioning to know how they're going to do in the best of 5 for 2 weeks for a 2-week tournament, which has always been the U.S. Open. They've always said has been the hardest one because it's towards the end of the year and you're battling injuries. But everyone's now super fresh, but also super rusty, right?
You're also battling a ton of heat. Usually the U.S. Open is really brutal.
Yeah, it really is. I guess they do it with at the Australian Open is probably more brutal, but you're right. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hot, and then it's weird too. It's got to be weird, like playing a Grand Slam with no crowd,
right?
Because you better believe that a crowd has so much to do with a lot of like. Think of if Serena gets tight, or Djokovic or whoever, right? Who normally have like a ton of crowd support. Unless they're playing Federer in Djokovic's case. But normally these people are really used to being able to get sort of pumped up and get a bunch of energy from the crowd support. And then, like, how weird is it going to feel that they're playing for a Grand Slam with no one clapping, no one screaming,
Well, I've got to think that gives the advantage to the underdog, whoever that is, because they're used to not getting the cheers.
Exactly.
In fact, they're used to getting, kind of anti-cheers, people cheering when they double fault or people cheering when they hit it out, so they're actually going to have less of a distraction, and maybe it kind of evens the playing field in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be the coolest and strangest U.S. Open. I can't wait to watch as much as possible because we're going to see like really crazy stuff happening. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of shocking headlines as far as like not only just who loses early to someone they shouldn't have lost to, quote unquote, but also how does coronavirus play? Whose trainer is going to test positive and they're going to have to withdraw because, they have to quarantine or something like that, And then what happens? Like, do we have a draw full of walkovers? Or do lucky losers get thrown in? It'll just be interesting, right? It'll just be a tournament we've never seen.
Yeah, I honestly feel like it's such a blip on the calendar. It's just such an anomaly that it just shouldn't count. Like, I really feel like the U.S. Open should just be an exhibition until we actually get back to, where everything is somewhat normal and people can actually play again. Because, I mean, even if Djokovic wins, that everybody's going to say, oh, well, that's because it was the COVID tournament. It's like they're going to totally discount it. And I think it's actually different for Serena. I think if Serena wins, I feel like they're going to give it to her more. But who do you think is the biggest competition on the women's side?
Well, I think Serena is I think it helps and hurts her equally more than anyone.
How
First
so?
of all, Serena is notorious for losing to players she shouldn't lose to early on when there's a lot of pressure.
Right.
But she also really relies on the crowd at the U.S. Open to help push her through those close matches. So I feel like she's very vulnerable in the sense that she's not going to have that support to help push her over the edge. If she wakes up and has a bad day, she's screwed. Because she's missing that extra edge she has being a home player. However, that being said, I think because there's no one there, and it'll be a lot less pressure, right? Because everything's so kind of strange, I feel like maybe she'll just, all of those expectations of 30,000 people screaming her name, not being there will help her as well.
Yeah.
To just kind of relax. So it'll be interesting to see how she actually goes with that. And I think the draw will be important, right? I mean, who knows if she gets someone the draw means so much for everyone, right?
I'm feeling great about Osaka too. I mean, I feel like Osaka can take anybody out if she's up to speed, and she's so young, she's so fast. So I feel like this is her tournament to lose in a lot of ways. I feel like Serena is a little bit under Naomi as far as chances are concerned. But
true.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say, like, Pliskova, like she kills at all the lower ranked tournaments, and usually kind of doesn't do as well at these Grand Slams, which is why she's not a Grand Slam champion yet. But I wonder if it's going to be different here because there isn't that much pressure. There isn't the crowd. It really is match by match, player against player, without all the other stuff. And that's when she does really well. She's super calm. So I'd like to see her really step up and just play her game without all the distraction and pressure. I wonder if this could be her call.
I think you're totally onto something there. She definitely feels pressure from a crowd and tends to lose matches that she shouldn't, and does very well when it's not like a big stakes match like a Grand Slam. So I don't see why not. And plus with her serve, you know, what a weapon.
Yep.
I would not definitely not be surprised. But I'm really hoping that one of the Americans will step up and take it. Coco Gauff actually lost in the first round of Cincinnati.
Yeah. Wow.
So hopefully that doesn't hurt her confidence, but we'll see. I that would be nice to see her have a nice run as well.
I mean, and that's the whole point, right? No one is match ready on the men or women's side. No one is match ready. There haven't been matches. How can they be match ready? And they can practice all they want. They can do, practice matches all they want. But it's a different thing when you're playing against the next person down the list who is just as high level, approaching high level as you, not a practice partner. So none of these people are ready in my book.
Yeah, for sure. And the women haven't had very many exhibition tournaments. The men have had quite a few. And Sloane Stephens just lost, FYI.
Great. so hot and cold, man.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm also feeling on the men's side, Thiem is right there. I mean, I don't feel like he's lost any bit of his intensity, even after the Adria tour where everybody tested positive. He literally flew on a plane to the next tournament. You know, he was just like, there, I'm ready, I'm playing, I'm done. I kind of feel like if it wasn't for COVID, this would be his time. So even with now the quarantine, can he even more so take advantage of the fact that he's really on right now?
Yeah. I mean, I would think that he's definitely the favorite next in line to Djokovic.
Right.
Without a question.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It would be fun to see him do well, you know?
Yeah.
Of course, with Nadal and Federer out, and as a Federer fan, I would love to see someone step up and have a new champion.
In a lot of ways, for Djokovic, he gets off the hook because if these were normal tournaments without the quarantine, man, he'd be grilled incessantly about all the negative press that he's gotten up to this point with his tour, you know, with the anti-vax, with, you know, all of the stuff that he's talking about for the vaccination. I feel like he'd feel a lot more negativity, but because it's going to be so quarantined, much of the press is not going to be there. I think he's going to have a little bit of a get out of jail free card going on.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's just so many strange things that are going to affect this, but it'll be cool. I mean, when will we ever have this experience again?
Yeah.
And then it'll be cool when the French Open comes in a month or whenever that is, and to see the kind of differences between how the two play out.
Yeah. All right, we're going to end it there. That's our show for this episode. Thanks so much for listening. As promised, we will have the Rich Nayar interview on the next episode, which I will upload very shortly.
I can't wait to hear what Richard has to say about everything.
I think you'll really enjoy hearing about his views on the USTA, his drop-in tennis program and book, and more insider info on the US Open. Don't forget to check out our Federer-esque giveaway online.
Yay!
You can join our conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic bonus content on our blog, LoveSetMatch.net. And thanks again to our sponsor, Tennis Pal. Visit their website at tennispal.com to download their helpful tennis app. I think you'll really enjoy it. Hey, stay safe, enjoy the US Open, and may all your serves be aces.